From our perspective, from the public's perspective, from patients, this restriction is absolutely the nail in the coffin amongst all their other restrictions that will absolutely guarantee that this medical program does not ever get started, that patients are never adequately served. Every step of the way, they have intentionally sabotaged what 71% of voters made very clear at the ballot box.
Educate, inform, inspire. The Dan Parsons Show, a podcast that lifts up instead of tearing down.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Dan Parsons Show. I am your host, Dan Parsons. In a moment, I'll introduce today's guest, Crista Eggers, the Executive Director of Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana. And be warned, we're both pretty fired up today. But first, a reminder that we have just a few seats left for the live recording of our 100th episode coming up on Tuesday, September 23rd at Lincoln's newest cocktail bar, Sideshow Speakeasy in the Haymarket. It's a free event, but you need a ticket. So click the link in the show notes to reserve your seat. Doors open at 5:30, and at 6:30, the live recording featuring fan favorites, State Senator Danielle Conrad, and Republican political consultant Ryan Horn, followed by our friend Matt Wynn from Flatwater Free Press, who will interview me. Okay, here's my interview with Crista Eggers. Enjoy. Well, to those who listen and watch this show on a regular basis, and for those who know me well, there's little that pisses me off more than when our government disregards the people's vote. This program has consistently talked about the state of Nebraska, the governor, the legislature, and the attorney general deliberately dismissing the wishes of over 70% of you who voted to support legalizing medical cannabis last year. And the person who has been at the forefront of this struggle is back with us today for an update. Please join me in welcoming back to the show our friend, Crista Eggers, Executive Director of Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana. Hello, friend.
Hello, Dan. How are you? It's always good to be on your show.
Yeah, you're a fan favorite. You always bring the passion and the intellect and the information that we all need to have on this continuing saga. So let's start with some breaking news. Just today, one day after the Nebraska Medical Cannabis Commission revised its emergency regulations, Governor Jim Pillen signed them into law today. The governor said he would not sign any regulations unless limitations were imposed on the plants grown. And so I'll let you take it from there, Crista. What did the governor sign today, and where are we at in this process?
Yeah, so I know it's extremely confusing for everyone to follow. Things are happening very fast and very non-transparent. This entire process has been anything but transparent. So last week on Tuesday the 4th, the commission met to go over some revised rules and regulations regarding medical cannabis, what the system would look like, some of the restrictions, what licensing will look like. And at that meeting, we saw some further restrictions placed than what the governor signed into law earlier this summer that are considered the emergency rules and regs. Some of those restrictions were on products themselves, the number of licenses, things like that. And, there was a public comment period that happened last week where people came in, honestly confused by what to even say because they've had the public comment period before the meeting actually is held. So in terms of giving any comment that can address some of the things we're going to be talking about, we don't have that ability to do that. But clearly patients and advocates, the general population came in and highlighted that they do not feel like these rules and regulations are reflecting the will of 71% of people in this state.
Yeah.
Well, after they did that, they pushed it along to the governor's desk, where we later learned the governor, just like you said, refused to sign it without them putting in a restriction on the number of flowering plants that a cultivator could have at any given time. So this past Monday, with no notice to the public, no notice to the media, they held a meeting where they went over the restriction of capping the plant count for a cultivator. So to make it simple to understand, you're going to have 4 people in our state growing cannabis. You will then have 4 people manufacturing, so making the pills, oils, and tinctures, making the product itself. Then you will have a transporter license, obviously the folks that will be transporting from a facility where it's made to the dispensaries themselves. And then the stopping point is the dispensaries, which there will be just 12 statewide.
For the whole state. For
the entire state. So when we look at the restriction on the plant count, the commission has authorized that there will be 4 cultivator licenses. Each of these cultivators will now have a cap, what the governor signed into law today, of 1,250 plants. From our perspective, from the public's perspective, from patients, all across the board, this restriction is absolutely the nail in the coffin amongst all their other restrictions. Yep. That will absolutely guarantee that this medical program does not ever get started. Yep. That patients are never adequately served. And so it is extremely frustrating to see the governor sign this into law today. What the commission did push forward. So let's not forget the commission was at the hands of this. But we know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
We know that there's people behind the scenes calling the shots, telling the commission what to do. And the commission, at the end of the day, is doing just what they're told.
And just to remind our audience, because the governor got to handpick most of those people, correct. Right?
Yep. Yeah. As a reminder, when the people passed the ballot initiative, 438 was the regulations. And what that did is it set up the Medical Cannabis Commission. We chose to place the original board, the original commission, the people that are on the Liquor Control Commission.
Right.
We really had a choice. There's been some pushback on that. Why are they in this? But the reality is it could have been Health and Human Services, who have come in since day one a decade ago and said medical cannabis is not a real thing. It's a farce, and we will do anything we can to stop it in this state. Or the Liquor Control Commission, who, they are used to regulating, obviously, a substance that does have restrictions and standards for public safety.
Even though it's not medical, it's still
correct.
Yeah,
correct.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it landed in their laps because the people did vote to do that. Then, in addition, the governor went forward and he appointed 2 individuals, Commissioner Muting and Commissioner Oldenburg. Both of those individuals who are now on the Cannabis Commission have come in opposed to every single legislative attempt, just as recently as this last March, when a bill was trying to go through to actually regulate it. They've come in opposed. And so you've got cannabis prohibitionists on the Cannabis Commission. And that is a nightmare.
And he knew that when he appointed them because they had spoken out prior to their appointment against medical marijuana. So he purposely chose these people for their opposition for what 70% of Nebraskans voted for.
Correct. Yes.
To be fair, there was at least one member of the commission, Bruce Bailey, right, who has been somewhat redeemable to or amenable to some of these regulations, right?
Yes, it's, when we talk about the commission, it's, it's pretty hard to say, to be honest, anything that they are doing right. But you bring up a great point that one of the commissioners, Commissioner Bailey, who serves on liquor control and then is now also on the Cannabis Commission, he seems to be in touch as much as he can from, an educational standpoint on what the voters intended with their vote, what this system is supposed to look like. And I think he has spelled it out very clearly with many of his comments during the commission meeting, that what we are building here is not a program that reflects the will of the people. It is anything but. And so, that's encouraging to us to hear that at least one individual understands what they are doing is wrong, is disgusting, and to agree, I think, that what they are doing is trying to completely dismantle this program, which they're, unfortunately being successful doing, because one vote out of 5 is not enough to change.
Yep. Yep. So what happens next?
So, I think it's important when we talk about, and I use words as strong as dismantle, water down, nail in the coffin, to let people know why that is, why that's our opinion. I believe it goes past opinion, but our opinion of it is that, there's the main parts of the regulatory process are the licensing, how many people will be licensed to do any number of these certain aspects of the program. Then you have what type of products are allowed to be sold to medical patients. Then you have the physician oversight and physician restrictions that the commission has now placed. Those are kind of the 3 facets that are easiest to understand. What we see is that every single layer of that, this commission has gone in and made certain by their rules and regulations that they've passed through, and the governor has now signed, make sure that this will be a program that has such a small chance of ever being successful, ever getting started. And, obviously, who knows if patients will even ever have access. I know they won't have adequate access. They're not going to have affordable access. But we see this narrative from day one of the enjoyment with the commission, with DHHS, again, who has been against this, still believes, cannabis is not something the state should have in it. And then the governor's policy director. They enjoin themselves. So you have the governor's office, DHHS, and this commission that's made up, again, of a majority of people that are anti-cannabis, anti-medical cannabis. And we're supposed to think that this can be a good faith effort to provide a solid, functioning, stable medical system. So we see restrictions on the number of licenses. What that means is that there will be no adequate supply chain. We are suffocating the supply chain from the start. There will not be enough people growing cannabis. There will not be enough people manufacturing it. There will not be enough dispensaries to serve patients across this state without undue burden on them in terms of how far they have to go, what type of products are on those shelves, whether they can even get their medicine. And so every step of the way, they have intentionally sabotaged what 71% of voters made very clear at the ballot box. This was not a silent or a weak mandate. This was a mandate across every legislative district in this state that said medical cannabis access, that we support medical cannabis access in this state. And with it, they did say, we are going to allow this commission to create reasonable rules and regulations. Well, reasonable went away a long time ago. These rules and regulations are not reasonable. Then we move on to the supply chain, we move from the supply chain that is completely destroyed. And then we move to the violation of the voter enacted statute that included very clearly in the definition, cannabis in all its forms. That did not say, the commission, you get to choose, we're only going to allow it in pills, oils, tinctures, suppositories, and transdermal patches, which is what they have now done. So they have reinterpreted the law, disregarded the definition that voters voted on, and said they know better. And Dan, it's not that they know better. They have a very clear intent to destroy this program. And that is, the tragedy is that is what they are doing, and they're being successful in doing that. Just again, today, the governor signing these into law, and I want to, the last facet is the burdensome restrictions and hoops that they have placed on medical practitioners. From they have to be registered into a program. They have to certify a female patient is not pregnant. They need to put dosage, the type of cannabis product this patient is allowed to have. They need to select the dispensary in which where that patient, or indicating where that patient is going to go to get it. Although they have the authority within the commission to do those things, Again, another
It's
attempt
it's all restrictive.
to destroy it. Are we going to have physicians that want to jump through all of these hoops, including continuing education, that I don't know where this continuing education is coming from? I don't know who's providing it, but before a doctor makes a recommendation, they have to meet all these criteria. And I do want to be clear that we still are very much supportive of safeguards.
Sure.
Of
Yeah. No,
making
you don't want the
sure
wild, wild west.
we
Yeah.
don't. But when you come and you choke this system, to its death, which is what's happening, they've done it in every facet. And it is no surprise, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, that we're in this situation. It's tough. It's tough to know what comes next. The governor has now signed this into law. These currently are still emergency rules and regulations, meaning that they can be changed. This commission has the ability to listen to public comment, which has been very strong, and abide by the will of the people, to make changes that reflect the medical program, a comprehensive medical program in which voters demanded. They have that ability. Now, are they going to do that? They have shown every step of the way they will not do that. And, we see that the governor also clearly has a very firm grip on this, because he refused to sign without this plant count restriction. To think that 4 cultivators in the state can have 1,250 plants, and that is going to adequately supply product to a patient population in our state, there's absolutely no way.
Do you have any estimates of how many patients might be interested or eligible, or, I mean, how do you judge how many plants are enough based on other states? What's some of your thinking behind those?
Yeah, numbers? And I just want to be clear again, I'm not an expert in the industry side of things, but have taken a lot of time to look at other states and how they've done this. One thing to highlight is that because they are in violation of the law restricting all these forms of cannabis, including the sale of the actual flower itself, that changes things. If the flower itself cannot be sold, what goes into trying to estimate the amount of these manufactured products? And to explain, when we talk about a manufactured product, we are taking the plant and then we are heavily having to manufacture it into pills, oils, tinctures, suppositories. My understanding is, to do that, heavily manufactured products, we actually need to have more product available.
Okay, that makes sense.
We also need to account for not every single plant grown is going to meet the testing criteria. Right. It may not actually be medicine. All good intention can go into growing the best tomato plant, or in this case, the cannabis plant, but there are factors outside of the control of science and experts. 1,250, their thought that went into that is that we could have a possible 20,000 patients in the state. That's approximately 1% of the population. And while I agree that's probably a good estimate, it really just is an estimate, because the program we intended and the program voters voted for, that's not the program we have. And so we don't really know how many people are going to access this program, how many people are going to be eligible for this program, how many people can afford the product within this program, how many people can afford or have the ability to physically get to a location. And I believe that what we're seeing is we're going to have less and less and less of a patient count because of the burdensome restrictions. So it's, that number is hard to say, but using Iowa as an example, and I want to preface before I say this, that Iowa is not a comprehensive program. Iowa is a low THC, CBD only, very, very small medical program.
Got it.
And the people of Nebraska did not pass a low THC, CBD only, a very restrictive program. The people passed a comprehensive medical program that left this between a doctor and a patient to determine if cannabis treatment is an option for a patient who is suffering. That was it. Iowa's program, because it is being brought up, and it's clearly the commissioners have continued going back and pointing to it, as much as one of the commissioners saying that they like Iowa's program, they think it's good and we should look to Iowa.
Even though it's apples to oranges. Anyway.
That's exactly right. We're not comparing apples to oranges. You can like Iowa's program as much as you want. That is not what the voters passed.
Yep.
That is not what they demanded, and that's not what patients deserve in this state. But looking at Iowa, we look to a program that has many of the same restrictions that we now see in our rules and regulations. And what we know from Iowa is that at one time, Iowa had 18,000 registered patients in their program. In 2023 or 2024, I want to be clear, I'm not sure which year it was, the number of patients that accessed the registered medical cannabis program was down to 4,600.
Huh.
So where are they going? What are they doing? Well, we also know that in Iowa, 92% of the cannabis being bought is being purchased from the black market.
Yep.
That black market means out of state.
Yep.
That black market means the black market behind your house.
Yep.
And that black market also includes what I like to term the gray or unregulated industry that we also have in our state. It is clearly not working for Iowa. And just last legislative session, a Republican representative brought a bill saying our program is failing. It is not helping the black market. In fact, it's
increasing
the black market, and we need to do something. And that legislative bill passed 19-1 out of committee in support of including flower, making flower available. So now we're back over here in Nebraska, emulating a failing program, a program where patients are not getting help, and emulating also a similar political climate. And so anybody out there that questions whether I am just too narrow-minded, that my heart is too much on the side of I want this so badly, the facts are there. And the facts are very clear that we are in a state where a couple state leaders are using strong arming, they're using money, they are using political threats, I've got to think, to make sure that cannabis is not an option for patients medically in this state. And if it is so narrow and so small that this program collapses on itself.
Yeah. Hey, before we end on some good news, what I think some good news, I'll have you affirm or deny that it's good news. But before we get to that, how can we direct our concern, our passion, our anger? First of all, I know you guys need money because you're basically a volunteer. You've run this whole process for a decade now on a shoestring budget. You continue to have legal bills that are due, and you've got a great legal team behind you that are defending not only this law, but defending people who brought this ballot initiative to the people. So anyway, let's start with how can people help and how can people get involved?
Yeah. Well, you said it before I could, or made me not have to say it, is we need financial resource. At this point, everyone, I think it's very clear to folks who this issue is important to them that we have to fight back. We cannot stop fighting. This is ridiculous. This is wrong. And this is actually illegal what they are doing. And so we need money to fight back. I can't tell you what that looks like and what may or may not happen, but we cannot fight back any longer. We've done everything we can, right? Through the commission, through the ballot initiative. And so financial help, first and foremost, you can go to NMM or Nebraska Medical Marijuana.org to donate. I can tell you every single cent comes back to fueling this campaign for the people, by the people. And a second thing is voters need to get loud. Your vote on medical cannabis does not matter to this state. The will of the people does not matter to the state. We are being spit on. We are being tossed aside by people who do not care. And so that should make every single voter in the state, whether you like this issue or not, whether you voted for it or not, people should be outraged. And so you can reach out to the Medical Cannabis Commission. I'll let you put that email up there,
we will.
Dan.
Yep, we will.
And the other thing is on September 30th is the next commission meeting. It's happening at 1:30 in Lincoln at the state office building. And at this point, watching what happened today and continues to happen, I want people to show up.
Yeah.
Their voices need to be heard. These commissioners need to be made uncomfortable and realize that their actions or their inactions affects real people's lives, whether you're a patient, whether you're a caregiver, whether you're a taxpayer, whether you're a voter. All of those people, we need them to show up and be loud. This cannot be allowed to happen. And unless we really, really have a strong force behind us that takes that discomfort that we want these people to feel, that it takes it to another level where they say, hey, maybe we've gone too far. I think that's our last chance here.
That's good. Well, we will put all of that information in the notes. Look for that when you're done watching this or as you're watching this or listening to it. Okay, let's into some good news, some interesting news. I think it's good news. Just today, I talked with John Cartier, the Attorney General for the Omaha Tribe of Nebraska. And they have become the first government in Nebraska to fully legalize and then regulate medical cannabis. And they're putting that process in place as we speak. As John said in my podcast today, this is really a workaround from all of the problems that you just described, Crista. So anyway, I know you know John. I know you know what he's been working on there with the Omaha Tribe. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's wonderful. I will tell you, coming from a place of feeling more hopeless as this all goes along each and every day that we move forward, we saw the Omaha Tribe recognize that the people of this state and their tribal members desire the same thing, which is medical cannabis access for patients who are suffering. And so they took the lead to say, the voice of the people in this state is not being listened to, but we are going to listen and we are going to do what they can, which is move forward with a system with regulated cannabis access for patients. And so they are filling in a gap. They are creating a way that despite what this state is doing to dismantle the voter past initiatives, that patients hopefully very soon will have access, and it will be through the Omaha Tribe. And so I commend them. I commend them from taking a step out. I commend them for recognizing that this is a need in Nebraska. And I really commend them for the hope that they are giving to patients who right now, understandably and very validly, feel very hopeless.
And what I love about it, and I'm fired up because I just had this conversation with John yesterday, premiering today. They're not only helping the patients in Nebraska to get access to this medicine, and they're obviously helping their constituents on the reservation, but they're also helping their constituents on the reservation, those natives, with another income source.
Absolutely.
A wonderful opportunity in a culture that has high unemployment and have just struggled because of the situation they're in, and so anyway, I just think it's a wonderful development and just kind of ironic of what the state of Nebraska has done to just continue, but it continues to be a mystery of why they're so, almost said the F word. I can't say the F word on my show, but so effing passionate about denying the will of the people. So here's a workaround. Doggone it.
We do. We're very supportive and we want to help, every step of the way to see them be successful. We're excited for the people of the tribe, that this is going to be an incredible opportunity for the economic impact it will have on their community. Again, a lost economic impact that we very much need in this state. But they saw an issue and they said, we can solve this problem. And we just commend them. We commend John, phenomenal advocate for many, many years. I've known John, met him way back during my first advocacy in this. Yeah. So we're excited. I want to help support them. We hope the people also will do that in this process. And still, it's not going to change our fight to still get a medical
right.
program in the state of
Right.
Nebraska. But this will be an option for patients, and we've always been about options.
Well, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know how hard you work. I know that you know so many of these patients across the state that need this medicine, including your own son. And so thanks, my friend, for the work that you do. Hey, and we're having a party, and you're invited. I hear you're going to come to our party. This is my chance to plug our party. September 23rd, just a couple weeks away. We're doing a live podcast. State Senator Danielle Conrad, GOP political consultant Ryan Horn, and Matt Wynn from Flatwater Free Press are all going to be there. We're going to record a live podcast here in Lincoln. And it's a free event, but seats are filling up. So thanks for registering.
I'm
for
excited. Wouldn't miss it, Dan. We appreciate your advocacy and always giving a platform for us to share and to get mad and to hopefully reach people that don't know what's going on and hopefully educate them a little bit more. So thank you for what you do, Dan.
Hey, thanks, Crista, for everything you do. Stay strong, keep fighting. You know we always have your back. Hey, thanks to the Parsons team who made this show possible. Chase Porter, our executive producer. Ike Simonis, producer and graphic design. Penology Tech Solutions for their technical help. And Kim Remington, Parsons PR's director of operations. And my thanks to each of you for your support and for tuning in. It really means a lot to us. And if you're as fired up as Crista and I are on this issue, leave a comment on our YouTube page. It'll really help alert everyone about the passion that we have for this issue. And let's not let these folks get away with denying the will of Nebraskans on this important issue. Okay, enough of that. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Now go do some good things. I'm Dan Parsons.